So I am sharing here a point that I have started to see through listening to particular interviews from EQAF. And there are 3 interviews that I'd like to mention here for context, and that is 2 interviews from the What is Sex series, number 27 and number 28. The one is called Why Am I a Sex, and the other one is called What Am I a Sex? And then the other interview is a life review that is about how your biggest weakness can in fact be your biggest strength. And so the correlation between these, the life review and the sex interview for me, is the topic of one's relationship with one's physical body. Because one of the things that is mentioned is in the What is Sex interviews is how one will look for a connection and will look for stability and substance and purpose in relationship with other human beings through sex. And as far as literally prostituting one's body for the mind's energetic experiences within sex, where experiences such as the orgasm becomes the payoff. And then the question is also asked is that if you don't have a solid, effective relationship with your own body, how are you going to have an effective relationship in sex? And so I can very much relate to this, and this is a cool point of support for initiating such a process of investigating one's relationship with one's physical body and how that has come to correlate with who one is within sex, and this experience of emptiness and pointlessness. And this is something that I've experienced extensively in my life, where I've turned my awareness outside of myself to the relationships primarily with men and the sexual relationships within that and the point of self-compromise within that. And so to return to the other interview that I mentioned, the life review, a specific, I mean, I'm not going to go into the details of that interview because it's quite intricate and it pertains to specific details. But in terms of how I took what was said and reflected it back upon my own life, what I realized was, in terms of how your biggest weakness can be your biggest strength, is that when I was a child, I was physical. I was just all body. I was completely thrilled with being in my physical body, being with others' physical bodies. I was, comfortable being naked and just feeling the sunshine on my skin, and I would often sort of interact with nature or animals or other human beings and feeling the physical sensations of cold or warm or soft or hard. And I would, not in any sexual devious kind of way, but just as an innocent expression, I just enjoyed myself being physical. And it was quite profound. And then when I became a preteen, just around, just before I became a teenager, that's when it started to change, and I started to crawl back into myself, literally. That's how it felt. I started retracting myself and my awareness or myself into my body, and sort of made my body an armor or a shell, which also has then led to gaining a lot of weight and having a very fucked up relationship to food, to nutrition, to taking care of my body, to even just being here, feeling my body. You know, I've noticed as I started looking at these points, for example, how I can find myself sitting in a really uncomfortable position, and I didn't even notice because I was completely lost in my mind, and I had disabled the contact between my awareness and my physical body. I don't even notice how I feel, let alone being able to feel my organs or how I experience myself inside myself. And this then also obviously is, like you say, within sex is established the same point. And then what is interesting is then that one would then go and look for oneself in sex, in relationships, only to find a shattering, stunning emptiness, an echoing emptiness, and ending up, you know, feeling dirty or used, while all along it was oneself that was using one's own physical body to try and fill some imaginary gap. And so for me, this point of then taking this weakness of my relationship with my physical body that used to be a strength, in realizing that I can re-establish, or in fact establish for the first time, an actual real relationship with myself, with my physical body, and then with a partner, with someone else. So these interviews are, and there are more, I mean, I only mentioned 3 interviews here, but there are also interviews in the relationship series and in the imagination series that speaks exactly about this point. So if this is something that you can relate to, or that you also have experienced, definitely suggest to investigate and invest in those interviews, and allow yourself to open it up. The life review, for example, reveals some quite fascinating things about how we have made our biggest strength into our biggest weakness. And so it is a fascinating process that I have barely begun investigating, in terms of discovering who I am in my relationship to my body, and who I am as my body, and establishing a relationship of dignity and integrity, and honoring the physical that is here. Bye.